London, England, July 16, 1988. Wembley Stadium pulsated with the particular energy that emerges when unprecedented artistic convergence aligns with historic venue. The occasion was the final European show of Michael Jackson's Bad World Tour, a landmark run that had broken attendance records across the continent and redefined the scale and production values possible in stadium performances. This London finale had been sold out for months, with 101,000 fans filling every available space in the massive venue, creating the largest single-artist concert in the stadium's storied history. For Michael Jackson, then 30 years old, this night represented both culmination and celebration. The Bad Tour had not just extended the commercial success established by Thriller, but had cemented his status as the defining live performer of his generation. His approach to stadium shows, the seamless integration of musical performance, revolutionary choreography, and theatrical production, had transformed audience expectations across the entire industry. What no one in that massive crowd knew, what even most of Michael's touring company remained unaware of, was that this final European performance would feature an unprecedented addition to the meticulously planned show. Prince, whose own European tour had concluded the previous week, had remained in London rather than returning immediately to the United States. At 30 years old, he too existed at the height of his creative powers, having recently released his acclaimed Love Sexy album and completed a tour that had showcased his unparalleled skills as a multi-instrumentalist and bandleader. The two artists, so often positioned as rivals by media narratives, despite their distinctly different musical approaches and performance philosophies, had maintained a careful professional distance throughout their parallel ascents to the pinnacle of global fame. Their rare interactions at industry events had been characterized by mutual acknowledgement rather than genuine connection. Their relationship shaped more by external comparison than personal exchange. The possibility of their artistic convergence had emerged through a sequence of seemingly coincidental circumstances in the 24 hours preceding the Wembley show. Prince had attended the previous night's performance, not in the VIP section but in a private box arranged through personal connections rather than official channels. His presence had gone largely unnoticed amid the spectacle of Michael's show, allowing him to observe the production with the focused attention of a fellow master craftsman studying another's approach. What had struck him most deeply, as he would later tell his closest associates, wasn't the scale of the production or the precision of the performance, though both were exceptional, but the particular quality of connection Michael established with the massive audience. Despite the necessary distance of stadium performance, Michael had created moments of genuine emotional intimacy that transcended the physical separation between stage and seats. This observation had prompted Prince to reach out through a mutual associate, the legendary producer Quincy Jones, who had worked with both artists and maintained relationships of trust with each. The message Prince conveyed was both simple and profound, an artist-to-artist acknowledgement of excellence and an open-ended suggestion of potential collaboration for the final Wembley performance. The proposition created immediate logistical and artistic challenges. Michael's show was meticulously structured, with every element, from lighting cues to costume changes to musical arrangements, precisely calibrated and rehearsed to perfection. The introduction of an unplanned element, particularly one as significant as Prince's participation, represented a dramatic departure from the controlled performance environment Michael typically maintained. When Michael received the message during his post-show recovery period, his initial response reflected this concern for the integrity of the production. Yet there was something in Prince's specific framing, the respect implicit in his acknowledgement of Michael's performance excellence, that resonated beyond the practical considerations. After private consultation with his closest creative advisors, Michael sent a response that would set in motion the events leading to one of the most legendary unplanned moments in concert history, an invitation for Prince to join him during the encore section of the following night's performance. The preparations that followed were necessarily limited by both time constraints and the desire to maintain secrecy. No formal rehearsal was possible, only a brief discussion of musical structure and a basic agreement on approach. Prince would join for the final segment, with the specific nature of the collaboration to be determined by the organic development of the performance itself rather than predetermined arrangement. As Wembley Stadium filled on the evening of July 16th, neither the audience nor the majority of the production team had any knowledge of what would unfold in the show's final segment. The performance began as planned, with Michael delivering the precisely choreographed and musically flawless show that had defined the Bad tour. From the explosive opening number through the carefully sequenced segments showcasing different aspects of his artistry, the production unfolded with the characteristic excellence that audiences had come to expect. The emotional center of Michael's performance came during Man in the Mirror, the anthem of personal and social transformation that had increasingly become the heart of his artistic message. As the song built toward its powerful conclusion, the 101,000 fans filling Wembley responded with a wall of sound that seemed to physically press against the stage. Not just appreciation for technical excellence but recognition of genuine emotional connection across the vast distance of stadium performance. As the planned show approached its conclusion and the familiar opening beats of Beat It pulsed through the sophisticated sound system, an almost imperceptible shift occurred in the stage configuration. Additional musicians quietly took positions at the periphery of the performance space, their presence noted by only the most attentive observers amid the spectacle of Michael's performance. The song's iconic guitar solo, a part originally recorded by Eddie Van Halen for the album version, began as usual with Michael's touring guitarist taking center stage for this featured moment. But as the solo reached its midpoint, something unprecedented occurred. A second guitarist emerged from the shadows at the side of the stage, a small figure in an outfit that provided immediate visual contrast to Michael's military-inspired performance attire. The realization rippled through Wembley Stadium in waves, first among those closest to the stage who could clearly identify the unmistakable silhouette, then expanding outward as the video screens captured and magnified the image for the entire venue. Prince, instantly recognizable even in the massive setting, had appeared mid-performance with guitar in hand. The audience response was seismic, 101,000 people collectively experiencing the shock of recognition, their reaction transforming from the already enthusiastic engagement with Michael's performance to something approaching disbelief at this unexpected convergence of two defining artists of the era. The sound that emerged from the crowd contained not just volume but a particular quality of amazement that registered physically throughout the stadium. If the story moves you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more moments that define these legendary artists' journeys. On stage, Michael acknowledged Prince's appearance with a gesture that contained both welcome and invitation, a recognition of shared artistic space that cut through all the constructed narratives of rivalry that had surrounded them. Prince responded with characteristic focus, his attention directed not to the audience response but to the music itself, his guitar work taking the solo in a direction that honored the original structure while introducing elements of his distinctive instrumental voice. What followed was described by Dave Grohl, then an unknown young musician in the audience who would later achieve his own fame with Nirvana and Foo Fighters, as the moment I understood what it really means to be a complete artist, not just technically skilled but genuinely connected to music as a living force. Watching those two transcend all the bullshit narratives and just create together changed everything for me. As Beat It concluded and the audience response threatened to overwhelm the stadium's structural capacity, Michael moved to the center of the stage, his characteristic precision of movement creating a focal point amid the continued reaction to Prince's unexpected appearance. When he spoke, a rare departure from the carefully scripted flow of his productions, his voice carried a quality of genuine warmth beneath its necessary projection to reach the far corners of the massive venue. "London," he said simply. "We have a special guest tonight." The understatement, delivered with the slight smile that those who knew him well recognized as indicating pleasure rather than mere acknowledgement, generated another wave of response from the audience, appreciation for both the historic nature of the moment and the genuine rather than performed quality of the recognition. Prince moved to center stage, joining Michael in the spotlight with the deliberate economy of movement that characterized his own performance style. The visual contrast between them was immediately apparent and compelling, Michael's precision and controlled elegance alongside Prince's more fluid, overtly sensual physical presence. Yet beneath these stylistic differences, there was a visible common ground in their complete integration of physical and musical expression, their shared understanding of performance as total art rather than separate components. "I think," Michael continued, "we might have one more song for you." The house band began a rhythm pattern that those familiar with both artists' work recognized as incorporating elements from each of their signature styles. The driving pulse characteristic of Michael's dance-oriented material merged with the more complex funk influences typical of Prince's approach. It wasn't a recognizable introduction to either artist's existing songs but something new, a musical foundation created specifically for this unprecedented collaboration. What emerged over the next 11 minutes defied all expectations and transcended the already extraordinary nature of the unexpected pairing. Rather than performing existing material from either catalog, Michael and Prince created a genuine duet, a spontaneous yet structured musical conversation between two artists at the absolute height of their creative powers. Prince's guitar provided both rhythmic foundation and melodic counterpoint to Michael's vocals, which moved between recognizable phrases from his established works and entirely new melodic explorations. Neither dominated the shared space, each finding perfect placement within a collaborative expression that honored both their distinctive approaches and their common foundation in Black musical traditions ranging from soul and R&B to funk and pop. Throughout Wembley Stadium, the response evolved from the initial shock of witnessing these two singular artists sharing a stage to a deeper appreciation of the authentic creative communion unfolding before them. Industry veterans present that night would later describe a particular quality in the audience energy, beyond excitement or appreciation to something approaching reverence for a genuine artistic moment that transcended entertainment to become cultural communion. The most extraordinary segment came approximately 7 minutes into the improvised performance. Michael, who rarely played instruments during his live shows despite his private musicianship, moved to a keyboard that had been brought to center stage. Prince simultaneously shifted his guitar to a supporting rather than lead role in the musical texture. What followed was a vocal duet of such emotional authenticity and technical brilliance that even the most experienced music professionals present found themselves transported beyond critical assessment to pure appreciation. Their voices, Michael's precise, emotive tenor and Prince's more raw, expansive range, found harmonic and rhythmic relationships that seemed to transcend the absence of rehearsal or formal arrangement. There were moments of call and response, sections of harmonized phrases, and passages where their distinct vocal approaches overlapped to create textures that neither could have produced alone. The lyrical content, improvised rather than composed yet coherent in its thematic development, centered on themes of artistic purpose, human connection, and transcendence of artificial divisions. Though specific phrases emerged and receded in the organic flow of the performance, the core message resonated with unmistakable clarity. Authentic creative expression as pathway to genuine human connection across all categories of difference. As the performance approached its conclusion, the musical structure began to incorporate more recognizable elements from both artists' catalogs. A bass line reminiscent of Billie Jean, merging with harmonic progressions that echoed Purple Rain, creating a foundation that acknowledged their separate contributions to musical innovation while demonstrating the compatible nature of their different approaches. The final moments featured both artists returning to their core performance languages, Michael executing a sequence of his signature dance movements while Prince delivered a soaring guitar phrase that seemed to extend beyond the instrument's natural range. Rather than competing for audience focus, these parallel expressions created a perfect visual and sonic representation of the entire collaboration. Distinctive individual brilliance finding harmony in shared creative space. When the final notes faded and the movement concluded, there was a moment of complete stillness throughout Wembley Stadium, 101,000 people collectively processing what they had just witnessed. Then, like a wave building from multiple points of origin, the response erupted. This wasn't the expected appreciation for exceptional entertainment, but something approaching physical manifestation of emotional impact. A sound that contained recognition of having experienced something beyond the ordinary boundaries of performance. On stage, Michael and Prince acknowledged both the audience response and each other with a gesture that cut through all constructed narratives of competition or contrast. A simple, genuine embrace between two artists who had just shared something meaningful beyond the public's ability to fully access. No words were exchanged in this moment. None were necessary. The physical acknowledgement contained recognition of shared artistic territory at the highest elevation of their craft. As they separated and prepared to leave the stage, Prince exiting first with characteristic economy of movement, Michael remaining briefly to offer a final acknowledgement to the still thunderous audience. Something had fundamentally shifted in the atmosphere of Wembley Stadium. Beyond the historical significance of witnessing these two singular artists sharing a stage, the 101,000 present had experienced something more profound. A demonstration of music's capacity to create genuine connection across all boundaries of difference. The very message at the heart of both artists' most meaningful work. If you've been moved by this glimpse into a legendary moment between two musical icons, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we keep alive the memory of these rare instances when artistic brilliance transcends expectation to create something truly unforgettable. In the days and weeks that followed, the Wembley Duet became a subject of reverent discussion throughout the music industry and global media. Though no official recording was ever released, both artists being notoriously protective of controlling their documented performances, bootleg audio and video captured by audience members circulated widely, their imperfect quality somehow enhancing rather than diminishing the authentic power of what had transpired. Music journalists struggled to find language adequate to describe not just the exceptional quality of the performance but the unprecedented nature of the connection between two artists so often positioned as opposing archetypes. Cultural commentators noted how the spontaneous collaboration had demonstrated something profound about artistic greatness, that at its highest level, it transcends competition to become conversation, each distinctive voice recognizing and honoring the value of different approaches to shared creative territory. For the 101,000 who had been present, the experience created a particular kind of bond, the shared knowledge of having witnessed something genuinely historic that could never be fully conveyed to those who weren't there. Years later, when both Prince and Michael had left this earthly stage, Prince in 2016, Michael in 2009, those who had experienced the Wembley Duet would describe it not just as an exceptional performance, but as a moment of authentic communion between two revolutionary artists at the absolute height of their powers. Perhaps the most insightful perspective came from Quincy Jones, who had worked extensively with Michael and had deep respect for Prince's artistry. When asked years later about the significance of the Wembley Duet, his response captured the essence of what had transpired. What people witnessed that night wasn't just two great performers sharing a stage. It was a moment when all the artificial narratives fell away, and what remained was the pure truth. Two innovative souls who had each, in their own distinctive way, pushed music forward. Different roads, same destination. And for those few minutes, everyone in that stadium got to exist in the space where those roads converged. That's rare. That's precious. That's why we call it a once-in-a-lifetime experience. In that observation lies perhaps the truest understanding of what unfolded at Wembley Stadium on July 16, 1988. A rare alignment of exceptional talent, authentic artistic purpose, and the particular magic that emerges when genuine creative expression transcends all categories and comparisons to touch the universal human experiences that connect us all.